At the end of the Swordsmith Village arc, we find out that Nezuko is actually immune to the sun and able to sunbathe. I mean, walk under it, which leads to the ultimate plan of curing demons and creating the anti-Kibutsuji drug. But what would happen if this wasn't the case at all? What world would it be if Nezuko didn't have that special factor in her blood? If she ever gets deep fried by the sun, would Tanjiro even still have the will to live? With that in mind, here's what would happen if Nezuko died from the sun. Let's start off with the end of Swordsmith Village arc, where Tanjiro has to make a choice between his sister and some humans against Hantengu. Tanjiro couldn't decide, but Nezuko made the choice for him, forcing him toward the humans, where he kills the demon with the help of the other demon slayers and saves them. In canon, Nezuko heals up, and we see her standing under the sun. But in this reality, Nezuko disintegrates to nothing, and the last thing she sees is her brother's back as she makes him leave her. When Tanjiro goes back to her sister, he hopes beyond hope that his sister might have somehow survived. He rushes to where Nezuko is, only to find nothing but an indentation where his sister used to be. Tanjiro's grief could be heard by everyone. He shouts, his throat is hoarse, cries till he can't, and stays that way for hours. The other demon slayers share Tanjiro's grief, but find they can offer no real comfort to the boy who has finally lost everything. During their journey back to the headquarters, Tanjiro remains unresponsive to everyone, a dead look in his eyes. The Hashiras gather and discuss the success against Muzan's forces and decide to train up the demon slayers for what's coming. Meanwhile, as Tanjiro heals from the battle, there's only one thought in his mind: to take revenge against the one who's caused all the pain he's feeling, who put this hole in his heart, Muzan. When Tanjiro is discharged, he goes full swing on the training regimen, practicing and practicing until his body's too sore to move. Many of his core members, including his friends Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Gyu, try to reach out to him to help him through this grief, but Tanjiro pushes them away and focuses only on improving himself. Almost everyone notices the change in behavior, where Tanjiro was once cheerful and helpful, taking his time to talk with everyone. Now he is cold and rather ruthless, as he skips most of the Hashira training and instead focuses on learning and practicing the fabled sun-breathing technique. Meanwhile, Nezuko's death has disrupted more than Tanjiro, as the kind demon doctor Tamayo finds herself with a lot of free time. There is that drug she developed, but overall, with Nezuko gone, she has no way of developing the cure for demonhood, and instead just focuses on how much she hates Muzan until she's recruited by the demon slayers. With that, the story goes on at its usual pace for a while. This time, Muzan searches for the demon slayer location simply because they've been promoted from being mere annoying rascals to a genuine threat, considering the latest annihilation of his upper moons. He locates their leader and heads over to finally put an end to this dance. He finds the blind and near-dead Ubuyashiki with his wife and 2 daughters. Muzan's a bit weirded out by the children playing ball, as the demon that's tormented their family is just standing through the Michael Jackson drip. Honestly, that is justified on Muzan's part. Those kids are creepy. What he doesn't know is the plan hatched by Ubuyashiki and Gilme to lure Muzan there and finish him off for good. What they don't know, however, is that someone was out there who overheard their scheme. A vengeful young man with dark red hair and a hard head, as the mansion explodes, nearly wiping out Muzan and giving Ubuyashiki a triple kill thanks to his family. The burning remains only have a fragment of the demon lord left, but that's still enough for him to come back. Muzan doesn't get an opportunity to relax though, as the blind gentle giant Gyome comes charging in to beat down Muzan. Just as in canon, Muzan attempts to slice away the human, but this guy is the strongest Hashira, and he really shows it, as Gyome actually manages to keep Muzan occupied. Just as Gyome is about to launch his sword, Tanjiro pops up to finally have payback, strikes his sword, and wins the day. Or at least that's how Tanjiro thought it'd go. Instead, the blade only goes halfway through the neck before it stopped, as no amount of strength Tanjiro mustered was enough. Muzan, utterly baffled by this strange boy's attempt, swipes him away, more baffled than actually upset as Tanjiro, which just added to the humiliation. As Muzan goes to finish him off, Gyome jumps in, taking the blow, but leaving himself severely injured as a result. However, this was all a plan to delay Muzan long enough for Tamayo to arrive and inject the anti-demon drug into the King of Demons and lay a trap in Muzan with the secret demon art. In the original story, it works out, and Tamayo gets the satisfaction of her years of research and efforts paying off. In this reality, Tanjiro's involvement screwed up the timing, causing Gyome to mess up and Tamayo to lose her opportunity to surprise Muzan, since he's now more alert than ever after Tanjiro. Though injected with the drug, Muzan still had freedom of movement, so Gyome and Tanjiro attempted to keep him in place and hope the other Hashiras arrive fast enough to help them finish him off. The Hashira arrive and get ready to fight along with some other core members. But as soon as they show up, sliding doors appear on the ground and the whole crew is swallowed up and taken to the Infinity Castle, where they are separated. With this comes the Infinity Castle arc. Here, the story tends to be the same in both realities for the most part, but the true change comes when Tanjiro faces Akaza with Gyu. Tanjiro's blood boils while his main target is Muzan. This is the man who killed Rengoku and ran like a coward. Tanjiro goes all out to an almost reckless degree, and it works for a while, but he leaves too many openings, which Akaza exploits ruthlessly. Gyu goes in to defend Tanjiro and battle Akaza Akaza, awakening his own mark as a result. As their fight goes on, Gyu manages to hold his own, which impresses Akaza enough to try his sales pitch again. It might not have worked on any other Hashira, but the upteenth time is the charm. Tanjiro lies in shame for a while as his actions have caused him to be saved twice, with his saviors paying the cost. That is when Tanjiro focuses and enters the transparent world his father spoke of, and utilizes selfless state to finally master the sun-breathing style long enough to behead Akaza. There were no words of encouragement for Akaza, or a speech to reach out and remind Akaza of his humanity, just a clean cut to the neck. Normally that's enough for your average demon, but Akaza is honestly built differently, as his body keeps going for a kill. However, Gyu latches his sword at Akaza's head, keeping it from the body, while Tanjiro dices the demon's body till there are just pieces. As the upper moon's body disintegrates, so much like his sister, Tanjiro moves on with grim determination to accomplish his sole task in life, killing Muzan. Tanjiro heads off alone to find Muzan. Gyu goes to help his other comrades who are in danger, and helps Shinobu along with Kamayo and Inosuke to finish off the second upper moon, Doma. It was hard and came at the cost of Shinobu's life, but it was done. However, they had no time to rest as they began moving forward to take on their biggest challenge yet, the first upper moon, Kokushibo. Moving back to Tanjiro, he runs around the Infinity Castle, constantly misdirected and moved around to keep him off track. But Tanjiro's nose never fails him, and manages to track Muzan while he's in a strange flesh cocoon. Because that hard head of his makes learning from mistakes something of a challenge, Tanjiro goes off to try killing Muzan again. He's got a way to go before even reaching him, and unfortunately, Muzan isn't just taking a nap. In that cocoon, Muzan is analyzing the drug in his body and creating multiple antibodies to counteract and absorb its effects, making himself more immune with every second. Tanjiro finally cuts through the cocoon, but it's too late. Muzan's ready, had his vaccine, and now he's got that extra buff. He once again spots Tanjiro, this time paralyzed by his inability to affect the man at all. As I said, Tanjiro finds it hard to learn lessons as he's once again smashed against the wall. Tanjiro attempts to use the sun-breathing style, and that seems to have an effect on Muzan. As Muzan felt the heat coming off the technique and finally bothered to get a good look at Tanjiro and his earrings, he was shocked to his core, and the deep shameful part of him that he desperately tried to keep away started rising up. Fear. Yoriichi really did Michael Jackson a number. It's been centuries already, but the PTSD is still there. So if you don't want me to give you that kind of PTSD, like and subscribe. At that point, Muzan stops playing around and nearly kills Tanjiro in one blow and destroys one of his eyes with his poison. It would have been the end for him too if it wasn't for his fellow Demon Slayer core members. These average grunts who are far and away from being equal to any of the monsters here rushed forward to block Muzan's path as he casually slaughtered them. Still, their bodies proved an excellent distraction while some of them got Tanjiro out of the way and to relative safety. Back to the Hashiras, they're facing off against the inferiority complex king Kokushibo. Muichiro is the first on the scene, utilizing every one of his techniques. Kokushibo is surprised to find one of his descendants here, but Muichiro isn't in the mood for a family reunion. The demon dodges every attack effortlessly, but the Hashira's effort has him unsheath his blade out of respect, which always felt like a mean way of letting them know you're now worth just a try. Muichiro loses an arm to him, but personally, the worst pain came from Kokushibo ranting about the power of a demon and what he could become with it. As if the guy who studied them his whole life doesn't know. He doesn't suffer that speech alone, as Genya was hiding there, ready to surprise attack, but that went as well as you expect, with Genya losing about half his weight. While legless is an interesting look on Genya, he still manages to survive, much to Kokushibo's surprise. Just as he's about to finish off our favorite demon eater, his kind of psychotic older brother Sanemi, the Wind Ashira, appears to save him. While under normal circumstances, a battle for their lives is the last place you'd see a dramatic reuniting between two souls. Sanemi admits his downright abusive behavior to Genya as a result of him trying to keep him safe, and says that he should have had an ordinary life and settled down. There's some tears, a lot of shouting, and one can imagine Kokushibo sarcastically looking at his watch. Either way, the battle continues with Sanemi using multiple wind-breathing techniques to both protect himself and attempt to hack at the demon's head. The Hashira can barely keep himself alive, much to his own delight, as he has to maintain concentration at all times or wind up dead. However, Kokushibo is not only one of the strongest demons, he is also the brother of the fabled sun-breathing creator, and he cuts deep into Sanemi's gut. This is also how we learn that Sanemi's blood is like catnip to demons and uses it to distract Kokushibo. The trio is soon joined by our favorite penitent monk, who joins in literally swinging. Gyomei's chain proves to be a danger to the upper demon thanks to its special iron form and decides to close in. Each time the Hashiras come close, Kokushibo pulls another move to get out of it. This time, however, the story changes for old Kokushibo as the rest of the Hashiras and demon slayers that beat Doma catch up and join the conflict. Before the story continues in a spiral of risk and danger against the former human, but while still risky, the power of the entire living Hashiras is is nothing to scoff at, and the group manages to synergize and awaken their Demon Slayer marks, utilizing techniques they once thought impossible. The Upper Moon decides to transform, but it's still of no use, as Kanao utilizes the demon poison to stop his regeneration, and all that is left on their side is to wait for him to die. This battle is not without its tragedy though, as Gyu, still patching up, was the target of Kokushibo's rage, and as his sword was about to reach him, the attack was redirected by Moichiro, and Kokushibo retaliated with his moon-breathing style, ending the Mistashira for good. However, this also served as the opportunity for Gyomei and the others to sever his head and end the threat. The tragedy of this day hits the Demon Slayers hard, as each wants to grieve for those who were lost, but there's no time. There's still one true obstacle before they can have peace, and he's had it coming since the beginning. Next up, it's everyone's favorite couple, Obanai and Mitsuri. They find the ever-changing castle shtick to be getting old, so the two head off to find the one-eyed chick, Nakime. That part, as it turns out, is easy, but it's getting close to her that proves a real drag. Muzan's latest Upper Moon's ability to shift the space around her makes it nearly impossible to actually harm her. Thankfully, the two served as an excellent distraction while Yushiro took control of Nakime, removing the Demon King's home advantage. Muzan hasn't been sitting idly by as this happens. He hunts for Tanjiro, and the two once again face off. Tanjiro seems to improve with each near-death experience, but it's still not even close enough. Fortunately, the disappearance of his castle distracts him long enough for the Hashiras to join forces to save Tanjiro and begin their fight against their ultimate enemy. If you thought the battle against Kokushibo was rough, the battle against Muzan is downright cruel. The entire Demon Slayer Corps, from its rank and file to its Hashiras, join in the fight. No one could even get close to Muzan thanks to his tentacle whips. Too fast for their eyes, the whips wipe out soldiers with every shift in Muzan's posture, decimating their ranks. However, life is still too kind to them, so to compensate, they add a massive amount of demons to the mix. In this alternate reality, Tanjiro's choices resulted in many of the battles ending a lot faster than they normally would, and most of the rank and file were helping him survive Muzan. This led to them not giving enough attention to the average demons that were in the castle, causing them to swarm out and attack. Now, the forces on both sides are in an all-out brawl, and all of this works in Muzan's favor as they're distracted enough for him to get the kills. The Hashiras are now stuck between a rock and a hard place as they try to keep Muzan at bay long enough for the sun to rise, while also keeping their forces alive against the demon onslaught. Tanjiro, however, has no such qualms. His target remains to be Muzan, and he goes once again for the kill. He utilizes his awakened sun-breathing techniques and manages to actually sever some limbs. Their fight continues, and Tanjiro deftly avoids Muzan's spiral attacks, which only angers him further. At some point, he loses all sense of patience. He's been bombed and assaulted, his home has been invaded, and now he's dealing with this child who reminds him of the one samurai who made him run away like a coward. Muzan goes all out and cuts off Tanjiro's arm, but that's not enough for him. As he lays there screaming in pain, defenseless and friendless, as his comrades are too busy surviving the horde, Muzan wants to make him suffer. Normally, he despises the notion of sharing his blood with others. In truth, the only reason he's done so is to control his followers and provide himself protection against those who want to hurt him, like Tanjiro. Now, though, Muzan forces Tanjiro to drink his blood and watch as the process twists him up and destroys him. It certainly does so, as the blood from Muzan has taken away what Tanjiro once was, and he is now forced to become what he fought for so long, a demon. When Nezuko first turned, she was feral, but her gentle nature managed to overcome her instincts and stop herself from killing her brother. Tanjiro, however, lost his once gentle and cheerful nature when he lost a sister, and all that's left is the need to kill Muzan. Now, what would become of that kind of person if they were given the direct blood of the most powerful demon? Trouble is what? Tanjiro's left arm is healed along with his eye. His fangs grow and the Demon Slayer mark spreads. There's nothing on him left but the desire to kill. He lashes out at Muzan with his backhand, sending him flying. Muzan is utterly shocked by this, and so are the rest of the fighters. He doesn't have long to process before Tanjiro strikes again, pouncing on the demon and bashing and clawing until there is nothing left. Muzan manages to push him away, but he's now wary of this beast. He attempts to control Tanjiro using his blood, and it stops him for a while, but the sheer overwhelming hate for Muzan has allowed Tanjiro to resist his control. The rest of the Demon Slayers have no chance to help, as their forces are being assaulted at all angles by the rest of the demons, and the Hashiras are busy keeping their men alive, though it doesn't look like Tanjiro needs any help. The two demons clash for a while, but it's an ultimately fruitless effort. Any injury they suffer is healed, and their strength is somewhat relatively equal, but one is clearly more nervous than the other. With every minute he was out in the open, the closer the sun got to rising, and while Muzan can survive many things, the sun isn't one of them. He realizes that spending any more time here will lead to his downfall. He tries to escape, but Tanjiro isn't exactly in the mood today to say goodbye and keeps him in place so the two can burn together. Muzan tries to use the demons as cannon fodder while he flees for safety, and it does hold Tanjiro back until he finds his sword. Though in this state, Tanjiro can't access the transparent world. His demon form utilizes the forms beaten into his body and unleashes a sun-breathing technique that instantly wipes away all of the demons between him and Muzan. The Demon King once again remembers the feeling of fear and death that he had long ago, forgets all reason, and goes for Tanjiro's throat. The newly formed demon unleashes his attack and decapitates Muzan. At first, Muzan believes he can survive this, as he's had before, but finds his body to be burning, and that's when we see that Tanjiro's techniques cause an actual fire that burns like the sun to appear and end Muzan. As his body disintegrates, the demons that are left are no more, and the Demon Slayers stand victorious as they finally accomplish their goal and slay the Demon King. That feeling doesn't last long though. The only demon left is the one who stopped them. Tanjiro accomplished the task that kept his mind intact. However, with Muzan dead, nothing is holding back his madness anymore. In the original story, Nezuko was there to calm him down, to center him, but there's no one left who can do that now, as he's closed his heart to the rest of his comrades. Realizing that Tanjiro is about to let loose, the Hashira strike fast to either end him or hold him off until the sun appears, which is closer than ever. Meanwhile, Tanjiro's friends attempt to call out to him and bring him back to his old self. Gyomei attempts to hold Tanjiro in place while the rest proceed to cut Tanjiro at every angle, so he's more focused on regenerating than fighting. The Hashiras are weakening in their attempt to delay him, but their hope rises as the sun is in sight and lands on Tanjiro, only to be replaced with despair. As Tanjiro looks at the sun, there is a burning sensation, no change in him, besides an insidious voice calling him to kill these damn humans. Tanjiro is immune to the sun. He breaks away from Gyomei and proceeds to kill each of the Hashiras with his blade, almost without effort. The rest of the Demon Slayers attempt to flee, but Tanjiro corners them all, cutting them down as the voice in him calls to cull and end these things that defy him. As it turns out, killing a Demon King is even harder than they thought, if that was even possible. Muzan's blood is in Tanjiro, and through it, a part of him survives, one that's trying to mold and control Tanjiro until he can fully take over. The only ones left now are Inosuke, Zenitsu, Kanao, and Giyu. They stare in horror at what their friend has become and his actions, but still, they call out to him, reminding him of their time together and of Nezuko and how she wouldn't want this to happen. That struck a chord with Tanjiro, and a bit of his old self returned, fighting back Muzan's control. He looks at the horror he's caused and is filled with despair. Despite that, Muzan uses to control him further, telling him that he's gone too far and there's nothing left for him but to kill. Still deep in the spiral, the voice of his sister reaches him, along with the rest of his family, reminding him of who he was, and that gives him enough control to run away, leaving his former comrades alive. At the end of the battle, the OG Demon King Muzan is dead, along with the rest of his forces, as well as the Demon Slayer Corps, save a few. Unfortunately, peace is not what comes after. Though Tanjiro attempts to exile himself to keep everyone safe, the voice of Muzan remains strong in his mind, and the memories of his family are simply not enough to fight back. Eventually, a new generation of demons appear, led by one who can walk in the light of the sun. This new being is stronger than any other force before, and a new Demon Slayer Corps rises, led by its old survivors to stop them. Once again, the war begins, and this time, the damage to the world may be too much to ever heal, as sword now meets sword instead of claw. Now, what do you think would happen if Nezuko died from the sun? If you want me to continue the story from here, comment "We want part 2," and at exactly 10k likes and 2k comments, I'll drop it.